Hey, it's Howie Mandel, and I am inviting you to witness history as me and my Howie Do It gaming team take on Gilly the King and Wallow 267's $1 million gaming in an epic global gaming league video game showdown. 4 rounds, multiple games, 1 winner, plus a halftime performance by multi-platinum artist Travie McCoy. Watch all the action and see who wins and advances to the championship match against Neo right now at globalgamingleague.com. That's globalgamingleague.com. Everybody games.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 481 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
I'm doing great. We just got done taping our Patreon mini-sode, we call it. We put one out every week. We put a full episode out every week. So for those of you looking for new content, Patreon's a great place. Go to patreon.com/truecrimeallthetime. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps us out.
It does.
All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode?
I am ready.
We're talking about Deborah Ann Jessie. In June 2013, Deborah Ann Jessie filed for a restraining order against her abusive ex-boyfriend, Jammy Washington. She told authorities that she feared for her and her children's safety. Days before hearing to make the restraining order permanent, Deborah disappeared, and police found her close friend, Crystal Anderson, shot to death inside her home. So we got a lot going on.
We do.
A lot to unpack. This idea of a restraining order. A lot of people need one.
That's true.
I just think there are some real limitations to restraining orders.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a fix-all.
Well, not bulletproof,
No.
obviously.
No.
And someone who is intent on doing you harm is not going to give two you-know-whats about a restraining order. But still, you got to go through that process.
I mean, and it can help you if they abuse, or break the restraining order, right?
Yeah.
And authorities show up and can verify that they did break that restraining order.
It can have legal ramifications, obviously. I also thought that, her ex-boyfriend's name was a little strange. Jammy.
Jammy?
Jammy. I've never heard of that.
Can you take somebody seriously with the name Jammy?
It depends on the person, I guess. Some people you have to take seriously.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying.
Deborah Ann Jessie was born on March 18th, 1990. She lived in Pahokee, Florida, and worked at a local family dollar store. Deborah had 4 children. Her neighbor, Crystal Anderson, often babysat her infant son. Deborah and Crystal were good friends, so much so that Crystal was the children's godmother. And Crystal had 2 adult children of her own, and she was known for her kindness. She would lend money to those in need, make food for people in the community, and babysit kids in the neighborhood.
Sounds like a pretty nice person.
Yeah, I think she was, by all accounts. Crystal's sister, Willie Everett, told the Palm Beach Post that she was the community's godmother, grandmother, and missionary.
So she was everything.
Yeah, she was everything to this community, adding she was an all-around person. She loved people. She gave what she didn't have. She was pure in heart, compassionate, loved animals. She was an animal lover. She was a giver of oneself. She was a selfless person, and she'd always keep you laughing. She always had a kind word to say to everybody. She just loved you.
Oh, man. I think everybody needs somebody like that in their life.
Yeah. And again, I don't know how you can give more praise, right, than her sister is giving her.
Yeah.
I mean, but she does sound like she was an amazing person. Crystal's family and friends live in Pompano Beach, but Crystal chose to move back to Pahokee because, in her words, those are my people. I have to deal with my people. I love my people.
Okay. I mean, Pompano Beach, not bad. I've been to Pompano Beach many times, which is...
You ever been to Pahokee?
I have never been to Pahokee.
Me neither. Not even really sure where it is.
It's in Pahokee.
It's right by Pahokee.
Yeah, it's right there.
So, what I'm getting from her, obviously very people-oriented person. She also had the instinct to, want to take care of people, want to help people out.
Yeah.
But I'm getting an overarching sense of community.
Absolutely.
Like that was a big deal to her. She had her community. She knew the people and she wanted to help them out. She wanted to help take care of them.
Sometimes I miss that, that community feel.
Yeah. I mean, again, are there still parts that have it? Yeah, I'm sure there are.
Sure.
I feel like in most places we get further and further away from it every year.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, there's social media. That drives some of it.
It does.
You don't need to get together and have a quilting bee. You can say whatever you want in a group chat or a Facebook chat or, whatever it is. But, it's maybe not quite the same. Deborah was in a relationship with a man named Jammy Washington. It's almost hard to say, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie.
I'm thinking maybe like his parents were like, let's call him Jimmy. And they're like, no, there's a lot of Jimmys. Let's switch the I out for an A, and he'll be known as Jammy.
Yeah, that's how it's spelled. I want to say Jamie, but
yeah.
Washington has a criminal record dating back to 2003 that includes drug possession, sexual battery, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and killing, possessing, or harming an alligator.
Okay. Well, you are in Florida, so I don't know why you would possess an alligator.
I think some people have them as pets. I don't advise it. I wouldn't.
Yeah. But maybe you might have to kill one if it, tries to attack you.
Yeah.
Or your dog.
But I don't think you would be charged for that in most instances.
Yeah.
That would be more like self-defense. So in May 2008, Washington was arrested for sexual battery, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The victim was his ex-girlfriend. They'd been dating and living together since 2001. But after Washington was arrested in January 2008, she decided she wanted to end the relationship. However, they were still in contact and had consensual sex one night. Afterwards, they drove to a sugarcane field.
Okay.
The woman reported that Washington was upset. She didn't want to be with him and threatened to kill her and himself. He threatened to choke her and throw her in a canal. So he served a year in prison on drug and weapons charges and was released in December 2011. But I think we're getting a real sense here of this guy, including his convictions and his record.
Got some anger issues as well.
He's got anger issues, but he's got at least 2 convictions for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. I think it's one of the things that almost everybody knows, right? If you're a convicted felon, you can't legally own one.
No.
Which means you shouldn't possess one at all.
No.
But, people still do. But I think even more concerning than that is the, sexual battery type stuff, aggravated assault. That is really going to maybe the heart of what we're going to talk about, in this episode. Deborah's friends later reported that Washington abused her physically, psychologically, verbally, and sexually. And that to me, that seems like all the different types of abuse all right there.
He's got to check.
Full range. Deborah shared with friends, family, and the authorities that Washington held her against her will inside her home and was violent with her numerous times. She feared for her life and wanted to make sure he could not go near her any longer. So, again, we set it up front, right? Restraining order, protective order, whatever you want to call it. I think we're kind of setting the stage for why she would want one of those.
Yeah.
Or need.
I can see the writing on the wall.
Yeah. In the spring of 2013, Deborah moved away from Pahokee to an apartment in Riviera Beach. She also transferred to a different Family Dollar store. Deborah continued talking to her family every day, even after she moved. And I think most people would, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people move, even if you move away from your family. Again, we're talking about 2013 here. It's pretty easy to keep in contact with cell phone and unlimited minutes and plans that maybe connect you to your family. They've had all kinds of stuff like that over the years.
By the way, the Family Dollar store, I love that place.
Mm-hmm.
Just random thought. Sorry.
No, I mean, my family's big into all the different dollar stores.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't hardly go anywhere without them finding one of those places and somebody saying, hey, can we stop in there and just look around? And looking around one of those places, you're never going to walk out with nothing.
Well, I know, exactly.
There's always something in there that's like, I don't know why they call it a dollar store, because nothing in there now is $1.
No.
Even the 99-cent stores, I don't think have anything for 99 cents.
No,
they have different tiers, but
it's just a hook to get you in there. But yeah, I mean, I live in a small village, so it's the only place that you can go get anything besides driving to the next town.
mm-hmm.
And so I run up there just for like one item, but you always leave with like 10, 12 items.
Well, you did make the decision that you wanted to live out in the sticks, and that's what you get.
It is what I get.
But you're not wrong, right? There's some of those stores, they're nice, they're stocked,
They make it, hey, works for me.
cheap
It's cheap.
or cheaper, maybe. On June 20th, 2013, Deborah filed for a restraining order against Washington. She was granted a temporary restraining order, and a hearing for a permanent restraining order was set for June 25th. She filed for it on June 20th, right? So I think this is important. Filed June 20th. They set the hearing for June 25th. So just keeping that in the timeline.
Okay.
Deborah wrote in her petition, as reported by the Palm Beach Post, I want to separate from Jammy due to the fact that I fear for my life and the well-being of me and my children. He has beaten me many times, threatened me if I call the police. He will beat the hell out of me and have a reason to go to jail. So, the way that I look at things, okay, it's one thing to threaten someone. You shouldn't do it.
Right.
But that's one thing. But when you have a very serious history, and in fact, a documented history of being violent to someone, well, then what does that threat mean in relation to that person?
True.
To me, you might as well consider it legitimate. It's not a fake threat.
No.
When the person already has a record of doing it. Deborah wrote that she wanted to make sure Washington could not go near her home, her workplace, and the home of her friend Crystal Anderson.
These are the places she's going to spend her time at. She doesn't want to have to sit there and be worried that he's going to show up.
Yeah, and we mentioned it, right? What good friends the two were.
Right.
Crystal was the godmother to her children. My thought about that is, well, I'm sure this guy knew that. He knew how important Crystal was to Deborah. And maybe in the back of her mind, she thought, well, that could possibly make her a target for his rage or his anger. On June 23rd, 2013, just 2 days before the hearing on the restraining order, Deborah drove back to Pahokee so she could attend church with Crystal. She was last seen at Crystal's home in the 700 block of Eisenhower Drive in Pahokee. I just enjoy saying Pahokee.
You like saying Pahokee.
I've actually never heard of it, but it's kind of fun to say. Deborah's cousin, Corey Young, also came to Crystal's home to attend church with them, but he left when no one came to the door. Deborah's family became worried when she failed to answer their calls and texts. And we talk about this in a lot of cases, especially the unsolved ones. At what point do people start to get worried? And here's a situation that I think you see in a lot of cases, which is people have plans, like concrete plans.
Yeah.
And, if I say to you, hey, Gibbs, come over Sunday morning at 9, we're going to go to church at 10. And you agree to that. You drive over to my house and I don't answer the door. That's going to be weird.
It would be weird.
because we've made these plans. Everybody knows about them.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Did I just leave you? Did I forget about you? But I think that's what you have here, and why people start to worry the way that they do. Also, I think, then it comes into the area of what type of character does this person have? Are they flighty? Do they miss things? Or are they very regimented and by the book? And if they say they're going to do something, they do it, because that plays a factor as well.
It does too. Yeah. I mean, it's, you got to know that person, right? And what they would typically do and not do.
Yeah. Crystal Anderson was found shot to death in her home on the evening of June 24th. And that's why I made mention, right, to really call out the 2 dates around the restraining order, filed on the 20th, set to go to a hearing on the 25th.
Yeah.
Well, Crystal is found dead on the 24th, and you got to be wondering, right, what's going on with Deborah. A 2013 article by the Palm Beach Post reports that deputies conducting a welfare check found her, while a later article by the Post reports that Deborah's family members went to the home and found her, and that was when they started searching for Deborah. And how could you not? I mean, these people are best friends. I'm sure they were inseparable.
Sure. Yeah.
If something happened to one, I think you would just naturally start to worry about the other.
I would think.
And in the wake of this filing.
Well, that's it too, right? You have this filing, this restraining order out there, temporary. Yeah. It has to be a pretty high level of concern.
Well, I think your spidey senses would be heightened, right, during that period.
For sure.
There was a reason somebody filed for a temporary restraining order.
Yeah.
I don't think it was any secret. I think she had shared with her family that, right, he was abusive. So, unfortunately, as we talked about, the restraining order it's a tool, but it's not a foolproof tool. But my other thought is, it is something that could set someone off or over the edge. And maybe that's what we're talking about here. Deborah's SUV was found parked at the Palm Beach Golf Center in the 7700 block of Military Trail in Riviera Beach, Florida, about 2 miles from her workplace, but she was nowhere to be found. Investigators immediately reached out to Jammy Washington as a suspect. And that would have to be the first person, right? Number one, he's an ex-boyfriend. So that's going to put him in the crosshairs just by itself.
Right.
And on top of that, the restraining order.
Yeah, it's going to elevate it up.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to be number one person of interest. Deborah's father, Larry Young, later recalled how they searched canals, cane fields, and buildings looking for her. Deborah's family distributed flyers, and they spoke to the media. Larry Young told WPBF that he believed she was dead, but he still wanted to find her. He said, if it was your child or one of your relatives, you'd want to do the same thing to find your loved one.
Yeah, of course.
You don't know if they're hurt or dead or whatever. We have a feeling that she's passed, but we miss her. And this is a very interesting statement to me, because you and I talk a lot of true crime. We've done a gazillion episodes, it seems. And I'm always struck by, how family members react, because it varies wildly. Some people in their heart feel as though their loved one is not coming back. Now they want to recover them.
Yeah.
This is pretty early on.
It is.
Others will hold out hope for 15, 20, 30, 40 years. All the while either believing or telling themselves that their loved one is still alive.
Yeah, but I think they realize how bad of a person Jammy was.
Yes.
That they and they probably felt it on the inside too. People have those, that intuition.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to deny.
Yeah. And I'm sure they were privy to many more details than we've given here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
As far as his conduct and the numerous times that he had done something against Deborah.
But you still want that person
to
be home.
No doubt about it.
So you can do what you want to do with their body and not have it somewhere out there rotting away.
Yeah. I mean, you want to bring that person home, lay them to rest, have somewhere to, pay your respects and all that. Crystal's sister, Willie Everett, said she wasn't familiar with Deborah, but babysitting children in the community was something Crystal normally did. On June 25th, the sheriff's spokeswoman said the two cases were not related, but documents obtained by the Palm Beach Post indicated they were. And again, what the police, or in this case, the sheriff, comes out and discloses to the media, how much do you really put into that? Because, most times they don't want to give out a lot and they're known to deflect. Now, for me, I get it. If you don't have anything concrete to say they're related, that's one thing. But if you actually come out and say they're not related, well, how do you know that? And what are you basing that on?
Yeah, it's true.
That's the question I would have, maybe if I was a reporter or, something like that, because, okay, best friends, one is found dead and the other one is missing. And you're telling me they're not related in any way? That's kind of strange.
Seems a little fishy.
Yeah, it does. Spokeswoman Terry Barbera wrote in the documents, Jessie was in the process of gaining a domestic violence injunction against a former boyfriend. Detectives are extremely concerned for her safety. And again, I mean, that to me is just common sense. On June 28, 2013, Jammy Washington was arrested on an outstanding warrant stemming from a misdemeanor domestic charge involving a previous incident with Deborah. The misdemeanor was upgraded to felony domestic battery at a court hearing. Now, he was accused of domestic battery back in January 2013. That didn't come out very well, 2013. But he wasn't arrested for months. And I just wonder how much of that had to do with Deborah going missing.
I think it plays a part of it.
Yeah. Now, they were probably going to arrest him at some point, but did they, can you envision a scenario where they're arresting him for a very valid reason? It's not like they're making it up, but they're doing it because they want to turn the heat up on this guy, right? It's one thing if, you voluntarily come in and talk to the police, right? Because you can leave at any time.
Sure.
It's different when you're arrested.
Yeah. You're not going anywhere.
And you're put in jail, and then the police want to talk to you about this person's disappearance. Deborah reported to investigators that Washington followed her from a hospital in Belglade to a convenience store in Pahokee and attacked her. This is going back to this domestic violence charge. The two argued at the hospital, and Deborah decided to drive to Pahokee to get away from him. She pulled into a gas station on East Main Street and got out of her car. She saw Washington pull in behind her and tried to get back in her vehicle and lock the doors. But as she tried to roll up the window, Washington jumped into the window. And pushed her with one hand against her face. This is a very violent encounter.
Yeah.
He grabbed the keys out of the ignition and forcefully pushed her into the back seat. He also took her cell phone.
It's very controlling.
Yeah, and a very scary situation. I mean, you can try to put yourself in her shoes and, there's an argument. You make the decision, all right, I got to get away from this guy.
Yeah.
And you pull into a gas station, and what do you see? He's right behind you.
Yeah, he's not letting you go. So
you're out, but you're trying to get back into your vehicle as quick as you can so that you can escape. But man, it sounds like he was there in a heartbeat and literally, going through the window to get her.
taking your keys, your phone, and throwing you in the back.
Deborah was able to get her keys and phone back. Washington reportedly told her, "I'll see you at the house."
I'd be like, no, you won't.
I'm going to the Motel 8 or whatever. But again, it's a scary situation. We said it, right? She's got kids and all that. It makes all of that much more difficult, but scary to me. A deputy came to the parking lot and talked to Deborah. Washington drove his car around the block several times, watching their conversation.
Just wanted to see what was going on.
Deborah told the deputy that Washington had beaten her up in the past and locked her in their home. She also said that he once told her, "If the police try to arrest me, I'll kill them."
Oh.
You know what police don't like? Threats on their life.
Yeah. But he's also trying to talk tough right there, you know. Maybe he would try that.
Yeah. Again, I think
don't know.
you have to take that pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Anytime someone threatens to kill someone else, I get it. It could be bravado. It could be designed to scare her.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if the police heard that, they would take it very, very seriously. Deborah didn't have any signs of injury, and she didn't want medical attention. Deputies followed Deborah home and found Washington inside. He called her phone and talked to a deputy, but refused to come out. The incident occurred on January 26th, but the investigating deputy didn't sign the arrest affidavit until June 14th.
It's a healthy gap.
Yeah, and it does kind of go against my thought process, right? That this was maybe a way for them to put the turn the heat up on him.
Yeah.
Because June 14th is 6 days before she even files the restraining order.
That's true.
So you just wonder, why did it take almost 6 months to sign this arrest affidavit?
Seems pretty long. I mean, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but
Yeah, I don't either. Maybe there was back and forth between the DA and who knows, right? No idea. An arrest was not immediately made because the crime was classified as a misdemeanor and was not witnessed by law enforcement. So that kind of sheds a little bit of light on it.
It does.
State Attorney's Office spokesman Mike Edmondson said, per the Palm Beach Post, if it's a misdemeanor or not done in the presence of law enforcement, they can't do a physical arrest. They have to do exactly what was done here and request a warrant review. On December 19, 2013, Jammy Washington was indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Authorities believed he learned that Deborah was going to leave him, and he killed her. He told numerous people in the past he would do so if she tried to leave. Police believe Crystal Anderson was an unintended victim who just happened to be there.
I always hate that. If I can't have you, nobody can have you thought process.
Yeah. And, you know, we've said it numerous times, but it's something we've learned over the years, right? We've been doing this podcast for 10 years now. The most dangerous time in many of these scenarios is when the person makes the decision to leave and is in the motion, right? Putting things into motion.
Yeah.
That can often be the most dangerous time. According to the probable cause affidavit released with the indictment, on the day Deborah visited Crystal to accompany her to church, Washington was looking for someone to use voodoo or black magic to compel Deborah to take him back.
Okay.
I know you're into some of that voodoo, black magic stuff, and it's why you take so many trips down to New Orleans.
Well, I do the gray magic because I want to keep it on the border of,
White and black.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of go middle of the road, right?
Yeah. So it's more, I was going to say like VD magic, but I'm like, no, that sounds
I don't think
wrong.
I don't think that's good.
Yeah.
But apparently he carried Deborah's underwear and her comb with him
Okay.
because he thought it would make the magic more powerful.
Yeah. Got her used underwear here and her brush with some of her hair. Let's do a little spell. That way she stays with me.
So Deborah went missing, they think, about 2 to 3 hours after she went to visit Crystal. Based on cell phone records, witness statements, and DNA evidence, officials believed Washington broke into Crystal's house while the women were there and killed them. He left Crystal's body in the home, but dumped Deborah's body at an unknown site and drove her car to Riviera Beach. And as bad as it is, right? This is a horrible situation. That would make some sense, I think, from his perspective.
Yeah.
Deborah was the key. Crystal was not, but she was there.
Yeah, by default.
Yeah, I mean, she became an unintended victim. So he would leave her there, but he's going to take Deborah because Deborah is the key to this whole thing.
Sure.
Washington told a witness that someone dropped him off at Crystal's house. He argued with Crystal and shot her twice while either in her living room or hallway. He then took Deborah's cell phone and shot her in the chest. Washington claimed he held Deborah in his arms as she died. So this is, again, like you said, right? One of those scenarios where if I can't have you, nobody can. It's also kind of one of those, I love you so much. I'd rather you be dead than be without you. I mean, none of these make sense.
They don't make any sense.
Now, how they make sense in some of these people's minds, that's the question.
Yeah.
Because I think, and a lot of these, they do make sense to these people. And that's part of the scary thing about them.
Yeah, I think they feel like what they're doing is correct.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right. This was consistent with blood found on a white braided belt, which Deborah was wearing on the morning of the murder, as captured by Family Dollar store surveillance. Crystal's blood and gunshot residue were found on 2 pillowcases alongside her body. The pillows were believed to have been used to muffle the gunshots. Deborah's cousin, who arrived at Crystal's house around 11:30 a.m. to accompany the women to church, knocked on her door to announce his arrival. Messages were sent from Deborah's phone to try to get the witness to leave. But the messages were sent to a number the witness hadn't had for almost 2 months.
Okay. So since an old number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which kind of, sheds a spotlight onto the fact that this was Jammy.
Right.
Right. Trying to get this person to go away. Maybe he had a number, but that number was old because he had kind of been out of the loop, right, for a little while.
He didn't know that the numbers changed.
Yeah. According to the affidavit, Washington told a witness he dumped Deborah's body in a canal near the Belglade sugarcane fields so that alligators would consume the remains.
Because I love you so much, nobody else can have you, but I'm going to let the alligators have your body. That's how much I love you.
Yeah. Again,
Jesus.
How do you make sense of it? You can't because it's not rational. Now, does it make more sense that after he had done what he did, he knew he had to get rid of her body? Yeah. And unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, if you're a killer, Florida, having a lot of alligators, there are some pretty good places to get rid of a body.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's options there.
Yeah. I mean, that you wouldn't have like here in Ohio where we live. Now, you could dump a body in a body of water.
You can.
But there's no alligator that's going to eat the remains so that there's no way of ever finding it.
No. Those, if you want that, you have to take them out to the pig farm.
Yeah. And we don't want to hear about your pig farm.
Yeah, well.
Sheriff Rick Bradshaw said at a news conference announcing the indictment that neither Deborah nor Crystal could have done anything more to protect themselves, and a restraining order is only good if law enforcement can arrive in time to enforce it. He said, if you take their gun, they'll get a knife. If you take their knife, they'll get a rock and smash your skull. There are some people that need to go to jail and not be allowed out of jail.
Yeah, he's exactly right.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe in that. I get it. A lot of people don't like guns, and I understand why. But if someone is intent on doing harm to you as a person, there are a lot of other ways other than a gun that they could do it.
Sure there is.
So if they don't have a gun, they'll find something else. If they're so intent on getting to you or hurting you. And I also do believe there are certain people that are so bad, they just need to be locked up. They should not be walking around.
No, you can't give them the opportunity to hurt somebody because they will do it.
Because they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Washington's trial started in July 2019. The jury heard that Washington lied to detectives when he said he was in Pahokee all day on June 23rd. Cell data proved otherwise. He lied when he said he didn't know where Deborah had moved to because the day before she disappeared and on the day she went missing, he put her new address into Google Maps. Again,
sometimes these guys are just idiots, man.
Well, we talk about, this electronic trail.
Yeah.
Right? This digital trail that people don't seem to think about. Do you think that the police are not going to suspect you? Number one, you have to know they are. And do you think they're not going to go back through your whole digital footprint and look for anything and everything they can find?
I think a lot of people don't realize is that digital footprint is out there. Even if you can't see it now, it's out there.
Somebody can retrieve it.
Yes.
Right? He claimed he hadn't spoken to her in several days, but text and a 30-minute phone call in the early morning hours of June 23rd showed otherwise. The defense argued that the case was circumstantial. There was no eyewitness testimony from anyone who saw the shooting. There was no evidence Washington owned a .38 caliber gun like the one used in the shooting, and no murder weapon was ever found. There was no proof Washington was ever in Crystal's home. And if Deborah was shot in the home, where was the blood evidence? Additionally, no one saw him move Deborah's body. So, I think from a defense standpoint, these are all good points to raise.
They are.
And let's face it, a lot of cases are extremely circumstantial, right? Most of the evidence is circumstantial. The only people who could put him at the scene were a woman walking by who believed she saw Washington sitting in Deborah's SUV and then walking to the back of Crystal's home, and also one of Washington's fellow inmates. Inmate Vincent Whitehead testified that Washington confessed to the murders while they were in the Palm Beach County Jail, and he said he went into detail. According to Whitehead, it was like a movie, like I was reading a book, like I was right there seeing it. Washington claimed he shot Crystal twice because she was in the way of him getting to Deborah. After he shot Deborah, he held her body, cried, and said, "Look what you made me do."
Oh my gosh. Look what you made me do. I told you I'd have to do this. Look what you made me do.
Sickening.
It is. It really is.
That someone could actually think that way. The defense noted that Whitehead was given the nickname Superstar because of all his work as a police informant. Whitehead said he was not paid for the information he gave in the case. He was homeless and risking his safety by testifying. When asked what his motive was, if it wasn't money or a reduced sentence, Whitehead said that one of his family members was killed in front of others and no one came forward. And if he ever had the opportunity to provide information in a similar situation, he would. Now, you and I have talked a ton about jailhouse informants.
Sure.
Some can be 100% accurate.
It can be.
Unfortunately, many of them are trying to get something.
Yeah, it's normally tit for tat.
Mm-hmm. You just wanted to say tit? Is that how this goes? Tit for tat? You could have said quid pro quo. You could have said a lot of things.
Could I have said that? Quid pro see?
Oh
yeah.
I don't know if you could say it.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. The problem is anytime someone has a vested interest, right, in saying something in a particular way or towards a certain side, you really have to take that with a grain of salt. If it cannot be conclusively proven, and most of the time it can't. You're talking about two guys sitting in a jail cell talking, and one supposedly says, or this, and confesses to a murder. Even if it was more ramen noodles or it was more rec time, I don't know.
Yeah.
People are always wanting something when they're incarcerated. Witness Manuel Ramirez testified that the day before Deborah disappeared, Washington called him asking if he knew anyone who could perform voodoo. You ever get that call?
Not in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. I took that ad down.
I'd say if one of my friends calls me and says, "Hey, man, do you know anybody that can perform voodoo?" Be like, "No," lose my number and never call me again.
Yeah.
He said Deborah broke up with him and he wanted her back. Washington took a comb and a pair of underwear to help perform a type of spell on the morning of June 23rd. But Ramirez testified the woman he thought could help them didn't practice voodoo.
You know what? If the roles were reversed, what women would never do?
Take a man's underwear?
Exactly.
No.
I don't care how much they like. I want him back so much. They're not going to touch his underwear.
Nope. I'd have to agree with you there. Now, my wife does have to wash my underwear. I mean, I do laundry too, but we wash each other's, I guess.
Does she have to wash it?
I don't know. I don't think she touches it. I think she just takes
Dumps it?
the basket and goes like that.
Maybe use tongs.
Or she uses gloves or something like that. But, again, this woman doesn't practice voodoo. I'm assuming she was probably a little shocked to see someone show up with a comb and a pair of women's underwear.
Yeah. Probably like, and you want me to what again? Yeah.
This is a taxidermist. I don't know why you thought we did voodoo. Ramirez was asked by the defense if Washington expressed his desire to kill someone that day. Ramirez said he did not. Deborah's cousin, Corey Johnson, testified that he was supposed to meet Deborah at Crystal's home to go to church together. When he arrived, both of their cars were there, but no one answered when he knocked. He went around back, knocked again, but still no one answered. He didn't have a cell phone at the time, so he walked home, but he felt that something wasn't right. Again, it goes back to, are these people reliable? And if so, then it would be weird.
Yeah.
That they're not answering when they said, "Hey, this is what time we're going to leave." Also, neither of the women were returning phone calls or text messages. Corey later returned to the home and noticed Deborah's car was gone. No one answered the door when he knocked. Eventually, he went to the home of Deborah's stepmother, Angela Burrows, but no one answered the door. He opened the unlocked back door, but didn't go inside and instead went home. Angela Burrows testified that she walked into Crystal Anderson's home and saw a body on the floor, but wasn't sure who it was. She went to lift up the woman's face and recognized her as Crystal. That was when Corey Young heard her screaming, "She's dead, she's dead." On July 18, 2019, Jammy Washington was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and burglary while armed. He was sentenced to life in prison. In a letter to the court, Deborah's mother wrote that her youngest child was just a baby when she went missing, and it pained her to know he would never bond with his mother. And that is extremely sad.
It is sad.
Number one, that she lost her life, but that her young son, never got to, really know his mother all that well.
It's tragic.
Over a decade later, Deborah Ann Jessie remains missing. She is presumed dead. At the time of her disappearance, Deborah was 5'7", weighed approximately 150 pounds. She had black/dark brown hair, brown eyes, and a tattoo on her arm. She had pierced ears and also spelled her name Deborah, Debra. She was last seen wearing blue and white striped pants and silver and blue flip-flop sandals. Anyone with information on Deborah's disappearance and the murder of Crystal Anderson is urged to contact the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office at 561-688-3000. So, a little bit of a different case for us.
It is.
We have a conclusion, right? We have finality in the fact that we know who did this. A jury convicted him, but Deborah still has not been found.
No.
It's well over a decade later when, you say she is presumed dead. Pretty hard not to think that.
Especially with some of the things that he said.
Some of the things he said, the restraining order, her best friend is found dead.
Right.
The more likely scenario, and I'm sure the one that a jury would believe or did believe, is that he killed both women.
Yeah.
He was really only there, though, for Deborah, and held her in his arms while she died, and then took her somewhere and buried her, and probably now really has no reason to disclose that information.
Yeah, or he did throw her in the canal.
Yes. And so there's really nothing that can be done.
Yeah.
Even if he were to come out and say, hey, yeah, this is what I really did. Well, what are the chances?
It doesn't seem like the stand-up type of guy that would want to put closure to something.
No, and I don't think he has any reason to.
Yeah.
But hopefully, that life sentence turns out to be life.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I don't think, in my personal opinion, this is a guy who deserves to be free. I really don't.
No. He killed her because if he couldn't have her, nobody was going to have her.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's it for our episode on Deborah Ann Jessie.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
We do.
And we'll see you next episode.
See ya.
All right, bye.